Coming up next, I'm going to help you prepare for the great COVID job churn. And what do you do in a season of waiting? We'll take your calls and your chat questions, and it all starts right now. I am coming to you live from Ramsey Solutions Studios in Nashville, and you are joining a conversation about who you are, what you were created to do, where you want to do it, and how to get there. This is a show about your purpose, your why, your calling, your contribution. We believe that you were created to fill a unique role in your work, through your work. That means that you are valuable, you are needed, and it means you must do it. I don't think that you have the option to decide whether or not I'm going to contribute to this world. Now, some of you will. Some of you won't contribute, and you will just sit on the sidelines of life. That's just a function of numbers. I'm trying to get as many people as possible to say, "Hey, I'm all in. I want to figure out what I was created to do. I want to step into it because I long for meaningful work. I long to make a difference, and I'm tired of longing. I'm ready to start doing." 844-747-2577 is the phone number, 844-747-2577. We'll also take your chat questions. You can fire those away in the chat window here next to the video as you're watching live, just past 12:01 Eastern Standard Time. If you're watching later, well, you know you can catch us every day at 12 Eastern Time here on the Ken Coleman Show YouTube channel. You can also listen to the show on your local talk radio station, Sirius XM, and the podcast of the show wherever podcasts are available. So what is the great COVID job churn? I mentioned this in the show before. I don't know if it was this show or the radio show, quite frankly. We're doing several hours every day. But I wanted to share the article from Forbes. It was actually written by a friend of mine, William Vanderbloemen. I've known William for a long time, over a decade, and he runs a search firm and job search firm and recruiters, and he does recruiting, and I'm a big fan of recruiters. And he wrote this article, and I thought, I got to share this because I think this is going to nudge a lot of you, and I also think that it will encourage many of you. The great COVID job churn. He thinks that this is a massive job turnover trend that could result in as much as 20% change in the national workforce. So why is this happening? Number one, people hunkered down in 2020, he says. Turnover is a part of the natural order of the labor market. We see that year in, year out. But a lot of the turnover, as he writes, that would have naturally occurred in 2020 didn't happen. There were layoffs, there were furloughs, but the job turnover didn't happen. It was such an unbelievable shift that many people, if they didn't lose their job, they just hunkered down. Hey, let's just see where this is going. And so now he stands to reason here, and I think he's right. There's a big backlog of people that are like, I was already kind of thinking about a change, and now I feel like 2021, we're coming out of the fog or out of the freeze, and I want to make a move. Second reason that people are rethinking their options. Habits are comfortable for us. Routines, rhythms, however you want to define that. Many of us are willing to be miserable in a job that we don't want because it's the safety, I can count on it. At least we think we can. And then comes COVID. And work habits were broken. Most people worked from home for a little bit of time. By the way, it occurs to me, I never worked from home. We did our show live every day, Skeleton Crew. We did. We were safe. We were responsible. Nobody got sick. But we kept doing the show. Did not work from home. Could you imagine doing the show, from home, Joe? And you and I never, Madison's in a different room. I'm in a different room. It was just weird. It was crazy.
Very weird.
So grateful I didn't have to do that. But here's the point. With the rhythms and the habits being broken, people are going, hey, I've already been made uncomfortable. Why not take the full plunge? Number three, people are ready to move closer to home. Here's what happened. The reality was that everybody was doing their job from somewhere else. And so what's the difference between doing your job 20 minutes away or 200 miles away? This is the idea here. And so companies are now open to remote workers. Some want everybody back. Some are okay with it. Here's the point. If you live on the West Coast and you never entertained jobs on the East Coast because you didn't want to move, now there are going to be a lot of jobs that are available to you without you having to move. Watch out. I'm telling you, people are going to move. And then number 4, jobs have changed. All jobs change over time, but COVID-19 has accelerated the pace like never before. Entire industries have been disrupted. And I've been sharing that day in and day out on the show about the types of jobs, the industries that are adding jobs. And so we're seeing this already. And so you take the natural progression of jobs evolving, the workplace evolving due to technology and advances, and you combine it with the COVID shift, if we want to just call it that. There are a lot of new jobs and even new industries that are popping up. So 2021, why do I share that? I think William is right. And I think that you as an audience, you've got to say, hey, am I ready to jump in? Now's the time. Don't wait. Don't be disrupted. Again, disrupt yourself in a good way. I'd rather disrupt my life than have somebody else disrupt it. Let's just put it that way. And I think that's the case. That's the reality for many of you. 844-747-2577, pencil in hand. Let's get to the phones. Nathaniel is up first in Indianapolis, Indiana. Nathaniel, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken, how are you?
Nathaniel, I'm living the dream. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. So I'll start with my question, and then I'll give you some context that might change your answer. So what is some advice you could give me for how to talk with my supervisor about switching departments with this company? So the reason I hesitate about this is because I've only been at this company for 5 months. I'm currently a temp, and I'm also currently being trained on a different task, like a new task. And we're also like really busy with all this COVID stuff. Like it's in the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
So with all that, like, how would you kind of approach that conversation?
Well, I think the timing is what we have to discuss first. Timing and posture, okay? So timing, I don't know that it's a great move for you to discuss moving to another position in a different department when you're a temp. So what do you know, what's the company communicated to you about your temp job and then moving to a full-time job? What has been communicated? What is there do you know of how they normally do this? What do you know?
Yeah. So in this current department, so once my, it's a contract to hire position. So once I'm hired, I would be in this current department for an additional year. But I know there's,
Like, hold on one second. I'm interrupting just because I need a detail. What are the details of the contract for hire? How long? I mean, is there any expectation for how long you're temp to when you move into hired?
Yeah, it's 6 months total. So I'm coming up on the end of my contract.
All right, is that at that point when you come up on the end of the contract? Do they sit down and say, "Hey, we like you, we want you to stay"? Do they do it beforehand? Have they already had this conversation? Give me an update.
So some of my other coworkers have transitioned to hiring, and I don't know if there's like that formal meeting. It's kind of like, it's almost like they expect you to take on the full-time
So are
position.
things going well in your opinion right now?
Yes.
Okay, and so you would expect that a month from now, you're going to be told, "Hey, we're hiring you full-time." Okay. And at that point, once you accept that, if offered, you are locked in for 1 year in the current department.
Yes.
And that's what you're worried about because you see another department where you go, I think I'm a better fit over there.
Yes.
Who hired you? Was it your current leader or was it the HR department?
It was the temp agency.
Oh, of course. Of course. I'd go back to the temp. Here's where this is at. I mean, part of me just doesn't feel good about you talking about moving to a different department when you're a temp. And I think you feel the same way. It's why you called me. You don't want this to blow up in your face. Right?
Right.
I would start with so I'm going to give you advice that I would do in this situation. I would go back to the temp agency and tell them what you just told me. Hey, I've identified another department, maybe even a position in that department. I really would like to transition over there, but I wanted to get y'all's take on it. Just start there. Let's see what they say. Because if they're the ones that got you hired, then maybe they're like the agent for you who goes to the other department, doesn't tell your current leader this, but goes to the other department and say, hey, we've got Nathaniel over there with you doing well, but since he's been there, he's identified, are you guys interested in him coming over there? I think that's where I would start. If they're not willing to do that, and they might say, no, that's not what we do, bro. You handle that yourself. Then I think you sit down with your leader and go, hey, I want to be in the company, but I think I'm a better fit over here for this reason, and this reason. The other option is you use your relationships in the building because you're there now or you're on the team and go direct to that other leader and say, hey, I'm currently a temp. I'm coming up on my 6 months. I'd really like to be over there where you guys are. Are you interested in me? I think you got some options there. You got 3 options. I'd start with the temp just to see if they'd be willing to broker that conversation with the other leader in the other department. If they're not willing to do that, I'd go directly to that other leader first. Because if that leader shows interest, then you go, hey, how do I handle this? Then they become your advocate and help you handle that. That would be my second option. Make sense?
Yeah.
Questions?
So I have kind of done some of those conversations already. So
why didn't you tell me that, Nathaniel? That would have been good information.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. Catch me up really quick. What have you said and what's happened?
So I had this conversation with my supervisors a couple months ago, and I think that was a bit premature.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
What'd they say?
Do.
What'd they say?
So they were so they said, you have to work a full year in your current position before you can transition. And I was confused because I'm technically not employed by this company. I'm employed by the temp agency. So I got clarification for that once this 6 months is up, then that's when I can start applying.
Okay, well, this would have saved us a lot of time. I'm not knocking on you. I'm not
really
trying to make, no, it's okay. I can't help you if you don't give me all the facts. So now that you've told me what you've told me, then you got to do it, bro. You got to put a year in. Your clock starts ticking in a month. And if you want to be at this company and then move up the ladder, you got to play by the rules. You're not in a situation to do all this. So scratch everything I said because I wasn't dealing with all the information. And your option is you come in and you bust it for a year. You do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. You understand that?
Yeah.
I wish I had a better way around it, but I don't make the rules and you don't make the rules. And I'm not a fan of rules, but sometimes we got to deal with the rules. And in this situation, I would be giving you bad advice if I told you anything else. If you want to be in this industry, if you want to be in this company, you got to play by the rules. Go bust it and crush it for a year. You got it?
Okay.
I don't think you have it, but I think Nathaniel's the guy that's going, okay, I understand. There's got to be another way. No, I really don't think there is. I don't think there is. Folks, this is an unscheduled teaching, little bonus teaching for us today. The most underrated quality, or the most, because you could call this a quality, and you could call it a discipline, an action. So the most underrated quality personal quality, professional quality, and or most underrated discipline in the success journey. Listen to me, folks. It's patience. And gosh, it's hard, isn't it? It's so hard to be patient. It's like sticking a giant donut in front of a little kid and going, hey, I'm going to put this in front of you, buddy. And you can have this donut, but you got to wait 20 minutes and daddy's going to put a clock on the wall. It's excruciating. So we come into this world hardwired to be impatient. Oh, it's against everything in our coding. And I'm the chief sinner on this. Can I just say, it's hard for me to wait. It's brutal. But I sit here today in front of you all because I finally figured it out. That persistence and perseverance is absolutely vital. And it's the stuff that we write poems about and stories, and we laud people. Oh, they never quit. They were so disciplined and blah, blah, blah. That's true. But you know what? All of those successful people that we look up to and we talk about how heroically persistent and perseverant they were, guess what? You cannot persist and you cannot persevere without patience. So it is a quality we must be patient. We must practice patience. Oh, it's hard. But I can tell you this, anything, folks, worth achieving, any destination worth arriving at requires patience. Nathaniel needs to understand this. You need to understand this. There are not a lot of shortcuts in life. There just aren't. And you would do well to realize this and go, hey, when we talk about on the Ken Coleman Show, your path to meaningful work, the dream job, then beyond the dream job of working like no one else and leaving a legacy and giving yourself away. Folks, I'm telling you something. That's a long road. And patience is what you must be and what you must do. You must be patient and you must exhibit patience. I'm sorry. I wish there was another way around it, but there isn't. So embrace it. All right, there it is. There's my little mini sermonette. Some of y'all need to go right down below the video window and share today's episode with somebody in your life that's struggling with patience. And just let them fast forward about 14 minutes after, I think it was about where I started, and just give it to them. Just bless them with that. I'm telling you. All right, Nicole's up next in Providence, Rhode Island. Nicole, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
You bet, Nicole. How can I help?
I wanted to ask you if it's appropriate to put work experience on a resume that was volunteer work done for a church, if it's relevant.
Yes, ma'am. Relevance is the key word. And I love your question because you're figuring it out. Relevant experience matters, whether you get paid for it or not. Because, you know, a volunteer who does a good job on something, who does work, gets experience, yes or no?
Yes.
When you do work, whether you get a paycheck for it or not, it's still relevant experience, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Go for it. Do not be ashamed of it at all. In fact, I don't know that you have to do some giant press release on the resume and say that it was volunteer work. I'm not saying that you're withholding, but the fact of the matter is putting your relevant experience in there is the way. If you're using the Ken Coleman Show resume, it actually sets you up to where you just put in relevant experience.
Okay.
But if you feel like you need to put in there that you volunteered, that's fine, you know, but you could put that at the very end, you know, like in parentheses, volunteer. But let them, you know, I don't know that you have to do that, because when they interview you, then they're going to say, well, what'd you do for the church? You go, well, I was in a volunteer capacity, but I did this, 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 and this. Let me tell you something. I go to church. I know what volunteers do. I know how vital they are to keep a church going on a weekend, especially these larger churches. And, you know, whether it be working with kids or organizing activities and events at the church, that's all relevant and very transferable. If I'm a leader and I see that somebody's volunteered a lot for a well-functioning organization, I absolutely take that as relevant. So big yes.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to ask you that was because of the fact it was for a church, and I know that religion is one of those like touchy subjects.
What were you doing for the church? What was the actual volunteer activity that you're going to put on the resume?
I've just started, but it's going to be email marketing.
Yeah. So email marketing is not standing on the corner preaching at people when they go to the football game. Big difference.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you so much.
You understand?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's email marketing. You know, email marketing is email marketing. So, you know, as long as you're not spamming people, you know, and they ask you what it is, and you just describe the work. Again, the work is the work, and I would not worry about religion. But here's the other thing. Let's be honest, Nicole. If somebody's all excited about you or open-minded to you, let's give you those two scenarios, because that's what it's going to be. And they get to that part in the resume and they start talking to you about it. And they find out you did email marketing for a church, and they're like, ooh, you have the plague. I'm not interested in hiring you because you're one of those religion nuts. That's not where you want to be anyway. So don't sweat that at all. 844-747-2577, 844-747-2577. Let's go to the chat room real quick. Oh, and I'll tell you what, we got to take a quick break. Sorry, Joe. Sometimes I get so excited about answering questions. Really quick break. And after this, your chat questions, I'm going to teach on what to do when you're in a season of waiting. That and so much more. This is the Ken Coleman Show.
We were drawn to Christian Healthcare Ministries because we both had young families and we wanted to have more children. And we had also just started a real estate company and needed to find healthcare coverage that would meet our needs. We were attracted to CHM because of its low monthly costs and the ability to negotiate medical costs down.
Established in 1981 and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, CHM is here to meet the needs of your growing family or small business. Check us out at chministries.org.
We absolutely believe in it.
Welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show, coming to you live if you're watching at around 12:22 Eastern Standard Time. And I'm coming to you from our Ramsey Solutions World Headquarters. So grateful to have you with us as we talk about you and your contribution to this world through your work. 844-747-2577. One of the ways to engage is in the chat room right there next to the video window. So let's go and see what we got here. Tina writes in, would you say that there is a difference between passion and a career? A passion and a career? Sure. Yeah, a little bit. Let me define it in Ken Coleman terms. Since this is the Ken Coleman Show, I get to kind of create my own language here. If you think that's cool or you don't like it, go create your own show, and then you can say stuff how you want to say it. So the difference between passion and a career. So we define passion on the Ken Coleman Show as work you love. You have high emotion for it when you think about it and then when you engage in it. And then you have high devotion towards it. So you spend a lot of time on it, a lot of mindset on it. You know, like you're thinking about it when you're not doing it. When you run into somebody over the weekend and they hey, how's work? You get all excited talking about it. You know, time seems to stand still. High emotion, high devotion. That's what we're talking about. And so we define that as work you love is the way we say it. You're in your sweet spot when you use what you do best to do work you love to produce results that matter to you. Talent, what you do best. Passion, work you love. Mission, results that you want to create. So passion is, think of a task, a function, a role in your work that you get really, really juiced about. That's the passion. Now, a career, in my terms, career is, well, I'm going to be in healthcare, or I'm going to be a healthcare professional. I'm going to be I'm going to be in technology. I'm going to be an engineer. You're picking a career, which is a next level up function, because the work you love is what allows you to be the engineer. So the engineer would be your title, or it's a descriptor of the type of work you do. So that's the difference between passion and a career, because in the sweet spot, as I just described to you, Tina, are multiple career paths. Multiple. So, you could be an engineer, or, you could do some type of building work. There's lots of different career paths for somebody who has the talent and the passion that would allow someone to be an engineer. It's not just one silver bullet dream career, and this is only what I can do. No, there are multiple careers in the sweet spot, multiple dream jobs in the sweet spot as well. So that's how I define that. William writes in, I've been in my current company for 5 years. They continue to pile on work without an increase in compensation. How should I handle this? Well, you need to have a meeting with your leader. And you need to say, hey, I need to talk to you about something, but first I want to tell you how grateful I am for my job, grateful to be here. Over the last 5 years, my responsibilities have increased. And I would have, don't just assume that everybody knows this or thinks about this, including your leader. So I would have in front of you some notes, detailed notes that would say, 5 years ago, I was here. This is my title, and this is what I was responsible for. Nice summary. Then at about, and have a timeline. 6 months after that, you guys added these responsibilities. Another year and a half later, you added these. And create a chronological order of how over 5 years, your responsibilities have increased. Then, if you have had reviews, performance reviews, and they've gone well, remind them. And in each year, I've had good performance reviews. I'm here today because it keeps increasing, and I want to do a good job. I'm a person that cares about excellence and has high character. I want to do a good job, and I think you know that. But I've had my responsibilities, and as a result, my influence has increased, but my income hasn't. And I want to create a growth plan, because if not, I'm the person that'll just keep saying yes, and it's on me. And so I'm coming here grateful and humble today, but to say, can we sit down and come up with a growth plan and say, this is where I've grown, my responsibilities have grown, presumably your influence or your impact in the company has grown. And so now we say, all right, my income, how can my income match or grow? Last piece of everything I've given you, go do some research and find out what the market is for somebody that has your responsibility and your seniority or tenure, whatever, in your industry. Because we want to be able to show them you've done your homework. You're not coming in being a squeaky wheel and griping, saying, give me, give me, give me. Everything I've already shared with you is how you do it. But the last piece would go, hey, I did some research, and I'm currently on the low side of the salary range for people that do what I do. All that together with the right spirit is going to give you a great chance to get an increase in compensation, and more importantly, a growth plan that will grow with you. And it's really important, folks. I talk about this growth plan all the time, getting with your leader and creating a growth plan where you and they are on the same page of here's what my key responsibility areas are now. Let's measure how I'm doing there. And then each year sit down and go, hey, how am I doing? Where can I grow? Meaning not just things that you need to do better, but some things you can just add to your tool belt. Additional training, certifications, a few skills you could acquire. It's not always you're not doing this well, you can do it better, although that could be a part of it. But it's that holistic approach so that the leader knows that you're transparent, you're humble, you want to grow, and you know that they're thinking about you and the growth and how you can increase your impact. And as you increase your impact, I'm talking about responsibility and results. As you increase your impact, your income should go with it. And in a healthy organization, they're going to receive that really well, and you're going to work together, and you're going to see continual growth. But that's how you need to do it. Now, some of you are going, gee whiz, Ken, that sounds really simple and beautiful, and it sounds almost like a fairy tale. I get it. But here's the good news. When you approach it this way, this roots out and makes it really clear if you're in a healthy leadership situation. Is your leader or is the organization healthy? If they are, they're going to respond really well to this. If they're not, they're not going to do anything about it. They're either going to object to it or they're going to kind of, well, that's a good idea. And they kick the can down the road. We get calls on this all of the time. People that said, Ken, I had the conversation. It's been 6 months. Nothing's happened. What do I do? And when we see leadership kick the can down the road multiple times, there's your indicator. In fact, when I say multiple, I really mean twice. They do it to you twice, you know This isn't a healthy leader. This isn't a great organization. It's just not. Because that would not be allowed in a great organization. It would be rooted out. So that's how you do it. 844-747-2577. All right, real quick, Joe. We're going to do Momentum Monday, and then I'm going to teach. I want to end the show today. I really want to encourage those of you that are in a season of waiting. And this could be in a personal season of waiting, where you're looking for breakthrough in your personal life, relationships. It also could be in your professional life. What I'm going to share with you works both ways. So that's coming up. But first, it's time for Momentum Monday. All right, Momentum Monday is a fun thing we started recently. We get so many emails to ask@kencoleman.com. So that's the email address if you'd love to send us a quick email on how you're making some progress. Doesn't have to be huge. Doesn't have to be dramatic. May not even be close to the dream job yet. That's fine. But we have found that when people would automatically send us these emails, as really, I think, an encouragement to us, they're just thanking us many times, and they're going, hey, I'm making progress. Or they'll reach out on social media, Facebook, just search The Ken Coleman Show. I'm on Instagram, @Ken Coleman. And so, look at that. I just threw that pencil on myself. And so we get these emails and these social media posts, and we wanted to share them because we know it encourages you. So just a couple here today. Alexander writes in, hey, Ken, I called you in June of 2020, and I needed your advice on whether or not to take a job where I would have to fundraise my salary. You asked me something to the effect of, if fundraising your salary weren't part of the equation, would you think twice about taking the job? My answer, both internally and externally, were moments that gave peace and helped me to gain clarity in what I needed to pursue. I've been with it. So the answer is, if fundraising weren't a part of the equation, he wouldn't even be thinking about it. But it's scary when you got to fundraise your own salary. And so I've been with a new organization, he says, since August 1st. I had an aggressive goal to raise a significant amount of monthly support by 12/31. At the moment, I'm 87% of my goal and tracking to reach the goal by the end of the month. So he's doing it. So that's awesome. Bonnie writes in and says, hey, Ken, I just got your book, The Proximity Principle, and because of your boss, Dave Ramsey, I have the financial freedom to walk away. So I did. I quit my job, and I'm going to figure out how to get where I really want to go. I love it. And then Rian, hey, Ken, I've been listening to your podcast for a month or so, and you're constantly asking callers, what would they do if they could not fail? So finally today, I asked myself that question, and I got an answer. So I just wanted to say thanks. I love it. The reason we asked that question, by the way, it's not unique to me, but it really is just a little psychological hack to quiet your brain long enough for your heart to say what it's feeling. You got it. The emotions and the feelings are so important. And when I ask that question for people, if I say, look, if you could not fail, there's no way you would fail. And you wouldn't have to commit to it, this choice, for the next 30 years. It'd just be a fun work adventure. What would you do? And what it does is it takes away that core fear that we all have. Is it the wrong decision? Would I fail? What would others say? I mean, there's all kinds of voices of fear. Sometimes there's multiple. They all join together. And then you just go, don't do it, And our brain's telling us this, and we're going, oh boy, I'm doing the smart thing. No, you're not. Safety is a lie. So what we do is we quiet the head and the heart. And every time we've done it, I think once or twice in 4 years, Joe, we've had somebody that just couldn't get there. And in that place, I say, you're so underneath, and I'll just, what I think it is, and I'll say, you need to go see a professional counselor. Let's go get you healthy. Because when you're healthy enough to listen to your heart, you'll have an answer every time. Doesn't mean it's the right answer, but it's the current answer. And we go and we look and we clarify and verify. So that's why I use that. All right. Let me shift to today's teaching here. What do you do in a season of waiting? I want to set this really quickly. There's some of you that are watching right now that you're in an agonizing, borderline miserable, gut-wrenching, fear-inducing, nauseating season of waiting. Have I got you guys now? I got you. I got everybody go, oh boy, that's me. Oh, that's me. And I don't know if it's in your personal life, in a relationship issue, or if it's professional. Need a job. I got fired. I got laid off. I got furloughed. Whatever it is. Ken, I just need a day job, man. I got bills I can't pay. I'm scared. I'm applied. I'm waiting for an opportunity. Whatever it is. You are in a season of waiting. And what stinks about waiting is it is an overwhelming feeling of helplessness, like I can't do anything. I'm waiting. I'm doing everything I can do. I'm loving this loved one. I'm supporting them. I'm praying for them. I'm serving. I'm doing everything I can. And they've got to make the change, whatever it is. Professionally, Ken, I've gotten qualified. I got the latest certification. I've applied. I've done interviews, Ken. I've gotten to the last 2 or 3 interviews 3 times and they're going with somebody else. Ken, I've done everything I can do. And I'm just waiting. What's so hard about the waiting is that it makes us feel helpless because we don't think that we can do anything, that we're just stuck in this purgatory and there's nothing we can do. And that's not true. So today I wanted to teach on that. There are 3 things I want to encourage you on that you can do in a season of waiting. And I want to tell you this. I want to remind you all this. Somebody else could teach on this and maybe come up with 3 different things. Maybe they're going to come up with 5 things, 10 things, whatever. I'm teaching from my experience. And let me also tell you that I'm in a season of waiting personally. It's really hard right now. That's all I'm going to share. And so I want you to hear me that this works. And even if I wasn't in a season of waiting, personally, I'd probably be in a season of waiting professionally. That's probably coming another week from now. We're always in seasons of waiting. So I hope this encourages you. Here you go. 3 things to do in a season of waiting, and the team's going to throw them up on the screen. You need to write them down, and you need to soak on this now, later, and then create some plan of action based on the 3 things I want you to do in a season of waiting. Number 1, be grateful. Be grateful. See, in a season of waiting, our focus, our feelings, and our thoughts go towards this longing. And we can become obsessive and consumed by the longing. And yet, it's so important to be grateful in the waiting by not just focusing on the longing, but stepping back and say, I long for this to happen. It's not happening. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on what I have, where I am. I'm going to be grateful for what I have and where I am. You fill in the blank for what that means to you. Number 2, be hopeful. When you get into a place of gratefulness for what you have and where you are, now our feelings and our thoughts are rightly focused and they're in a good place. Now I can be hopeful. Now I can look at this longing and I can, instead of ache, I go, I'm hopeful. I'm grateful and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. That's a positive, joy-filled place. And number 3, and this is the hardest part for us humans, be active. What do you mean, Ken? I get be grateful. I get be hopeful. What do you mean by be active? Be active where you can. There are other areas of your life where you can be active. When you're in a season of waiting, there are some things where you just don't have any control over some things. But what do you have control over? if it's a personal relationship and you've done everything you can do, and the change or the thing that you're longing for, waiting for, you don't have any control over. Let's personalize this. It doesn't always have to be conflict. It could be you have a child who's dealing with a health crisis, and you're longing for your child to be healthy. And the doctors have a process, and there's a trial and error, and they're working through it, whatever it is. And you as a parent can't do anything to make the health situation go away. And so you're waiting, and you feel helpless and hopeless. Be grateful, be hopeful, but be active. What can you do? You can encourage your child because they're going through it. It's happening to them. You can serve your child like you already are. You keep serving. Keep showing up. Keep loving on them. Keep giving perspective. Keep praying for them. Be active. Some of you are waiting for a job opportunity. You don't just sit. You keep being active. I'm not going to put all my eggs in this basket. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to keep working Ken Coleman's proximity principle. I'm going to keep getting up every day and getting around the right people and getting in the right places. I'm going to be active. I'm waiting, Ken, for the breakthrough, but I'm active. I'm not sitting around waiting for the thunderbolt from the sky to drop in my lap. I'm being active. I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, you're not going to sit around and wait for that. You got to be active. You don't lose 50 pounds in 2 days. Whatever it is, let me remind you, be grateful, be hopeful, be active. And I promise you that if you learn those 3 actions, those are all actions, and you stay active with those actions. I mean, every day in the season of waiting. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to be active. In other words, I'm going to be thankful for something. I'm going to look forward to something, and I'm going to do something. And when you do that, you'll be surprised how the waiting is much more possible and less excruciating than you could possibly imagine. I know this because I've done it. I know this because I'm in the middle of it. And you can do it. And let me tell you what's so crazy about the waiting. The very thing that drives us humans crazy, and it's so excruciating and painful and miserable, it's the very thing that makes what we're longing for so stinking beautiful. Because what I long for, I don't appreciate without the waiting. What I long for, I don't love as much without the waiting. It's just how it is. So those 3 actions I gave you are not just to help you get through the waiting. It's to help you grow in the waiting. Because that's kind of the miracle of waiting. It is the process that prepares us for the promise. I hope that encourages you. My time is almost up. But before I let you go, I want you to know that you matter and you have what it takes. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, this is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.